Let's get down to business. It's 2:01. Dennis has got somewhere to be, so we got to get this done. Looks to me like we have a quorum, so I think we can proceed that way. Why don't we do this? We'll go around the table, do introductions, and then we'll get down to business. Mark Waller, El Paso County.
Merrick Bennett, City Council, Colorado Springs.
Heather Stevens, Green Mountain Falls.
Yolanda Avila, Colorado Springs City Council member.
Jennifer Ivey, legal counsel to the PPRTA.
Ken Geray, Manitou Springs.
Andy Gunning, new employee with Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. I had a chance to meet most of you, but not all of you.
All the way around to you.
Dennis Carpenter, Mayor Rama.
Stan Vanderwerf, El Paso County Commissioner.
Lojinos Gonzalez, El Paso County Commissioner.
Dave Geislinger, Colorado Springs City Council.
Yeah, we didn't get an introduction from Puma, Councilwoman Avila.
Well, he gets on me like not introducing him all the time.
Okay.
What about me?
Puma's Facebook page has more likes than mine. That's what upsets me.
There's a reason for that, Commissioner Gonzalez. It has less to do with Puma than it does to do with you there. All right, on to agenda item number 2. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, seeing none, the approval of the agenda passes unanimously, surprisingly. No, I'm kidding. Item number 3, public comment period for items not on the agenda. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to an item that's not on the agenda? Anybody at all? Reb? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Agenda item number 4, approval of the minutes from the February 14th, the Valentine's Day regular meeting agenda. Can I entertain a motion there?
Also moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of approval of the minutes from last month's meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Seeing none, that passes unanimously.
I have a comment.
Taking a while to get together.
Yes.
I don't think we need to change the minutes, but I would like to, in the future, it be known that Yolanda is not an alternate.
Oh, okay. How long? How long have we been making that
I
mistake?
don't know, I just noticed it.
I think since you were the chair.
Probably. I'll take responsibility.
All right, well, that will be corrected. Did staff take a note there? All right, thank you. All right, the CAC monthly report. Mr. Godfrey.
Good afternoon. Jim Godfrey, Chair of the CAC. Appreciate being here today. Our meeting on whatever day it was, March 7th, the City of Colorado Springs had 3 contracts. One of them was for material and labor for their dig out and patch program. One was for finally getting the Dublin Boulevard widening from Bridle Pass to Powers started, where that bottlenecks there, so that. And Parks and Rec had a contract for an underpass under Uinta. We had good discussion about all of these, and our recommendation is we make a recommendation to approve those to the board. The City of El Paso County, the county has a proposal. I don't know how they're going to present it to you, but there are 2 items on your agenda, one in one group and one in the other, that are related, and it has to do with West Colorado Avenue. So there's a required project cost increase on that that was not originally awarded with a full design. And so as sections of it become completed, they're driving some cost. Also, there's some unforeseen conditions that have been dealt with. So this was kind of totally expected when this contract was coming along. So we had a good discussion about that. And then the county is proposing a line item transfer, moving money from a project late in 2018 that could possibly slide in their list, doing a line item transfer up to this project to cover this contract increase. And then there's also, because this is a joint project, there's a city and a Manitou Springs portion of this that reimbursement back to the county will occur next year during the budget allocation process. So everything will work out in the end, but this was necessary to get this contract done. The contractor's already done some of this work, so it's some repay in that perspective. So I'll let them cover the details on that. And then, like I said, there's some change orders that go along with that line item transfer that they'll describe, and we make a positive recommendation for that project as well. Manitou Springs, Hiawatha Gardens Transit Stop, they had a request to spend about $320,000, $321,000 to do some work on a handicap, if I've got that right, ADA accessible ramp and some markings at the Hiawatha Gardens Transit Stop. This is where Metro comes in, where they meet up with the shuttle that runs back and forth as their transfer point there. And they need some work to make that ADA compliant and safe, and we recommend approval of that project as well. And then on our agenda, and you'll have today too, on the legislative update, we had, Rick put it as a recommendation in our agenda in case we needed to make one, but we discussed Senate Bill 1, and rather than make a recommendation from the CAC to the board on this, seeing that you guys are much more attuned to what's happening with this and in the legislature, the CAC asked me just to relate to you that we give you our support on keeping this bill from passing in its current form as we met last week. I understand that there's been some amendments and some adjustments to this, but in the original form, we may lose funding for that I-25 gap project altogether. And so the CAC is saying we're backing you guys for whatever you decide to do to make sure that doesn't happen, that we get funding for I-25 moving forward, staying forward. And other than that, that was about it. That's mine.
All right, is there any discussion on the CAC report? Commissioner Gonzalez?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, so just a general comment. We also had a vote on some West Colorado cost increases. So just a general concern, seeing a lot of increase on that project. And so, for transparency's sake, I'm glad that we're talking about it. But maybe somebody should just brief what was the original cost and what are we at now at the cost, because I'm seeing it go up a lot. And I know it's going to be brought up later, but it's a concern of mine because I have seen the cost go up.
Yeah, I think Dennis can address this during his, but from a CAC perspective, when this project was let, it needed to get let when it got let, and it was, well, they may have called it 80 or 90% design. There were aspects of it that weren't, and from the get-go, as the county, it's a joint project, from the get-go, we and the county, as the project lead on this, have been very forthcoming that this will go up. And so some of it was just unforeseen. Some of it had to do with property acquisition. Some of it had to do with completion and dependent upon CDOT right-of-way and the use of land that maybe is no longer available. They got to redesign. So they've been very forthcoming in what those changes are. And at the moment, the CAC is comfortable with what they've presented to us.
If I may.
Yeah, Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and I recall last year, right at the point of starting the process, that there was substantial discussion about the possibility and the chances of the cost of this project, going up. And there was a lot of speculation about, unforeseen circumstances that I guess they might have had some circumstantial evidence about that they were anticipating. And the one that I think was very notable is the hundreds of tires that they pulled out of the creek which was not an anticipated cost, and that was very expensive, and then some shoring up of the bridge work because of the weakness in the soils. And so there have been these unforeseen circumstances. So it's unfortunate that those things get found, but the good news is we're getting through this project, and all of the ills and past sins of our fathers and everything in the process of doing this, it's getting fixed.
And
So-
it's a great improvement. You can already tell from some of the stuff, so
Yeah.
great work.
All right, any other comments on the CAC monthly report? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to accept the CAC monthly report.
So
move to accept.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. We'll say moved by Councilmember Geislinger, accepted by Mayor Duray. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Thank you.
All right, seeing none, that's accepted
We had,
unanimously.
He just wanted
We
his
had-
name in the minutes, so he.
All right, it's here.
One vote for thank you.
What's that?
Oh, I just, when the thank you was made, it sounded like it was a third style of vote.
Oh,
We had
well,
one vote for thank you, the rest were all
We
yeas.
can always vote to thank you. That's a good thing. All right, on to agenda item number 6, financial reports. Good news today.
Good afternoon. So we just received our January sales and use taxes of $7,568,000 compared to the $6.9 million budget. So we're ahead for January by $660,000. So our budget's based on last year's sales and use tax by month. So it is comparable, the $660,000. So on page 2, we are ahead year-to-date compared to actual for 1 month by $733,000, or 10.7%. On the financial statements, the revenue and expense summary, I want to point something out on page 3 and explain it a little. On the bottom of page 3 for the City of Colorado Springs for Woodman Road widening and interchange, it looks like we're over budget by $616,000, and Mark Shuffle Road, Peterson Air Force Base to Black Forest by $31,000. However, in the comment section there over to the right, we really have, it looks like we have $100,000 for Woodman Road widening and interchange, but we're carrying $900 and almost $88,000 over from 2017. So when they do their budgets in September, they estimate what they think their carryover is going to be, and I believe that they must have thought at that time it was $100,000. So apparently more work got done in January than in December. So I keep an eye on that, and the same is true for Mark Shuffle Road, because we have a huge carryover there, $4,862,000, so we're not over budget there either. And in the mid-year budget amendment, I take the actual carryovers and put them in the budget. So I just wanted to explain why that looked like that.
Quick
Any
question.
questions?
Yeah, Commissioner Vanderwerf.
It's not really a question, just a kind of a comment, but perhaps you already know, you have got a couple of divide by zeros on the bottom there.
Oh,
And,
yeah, because you can't divide by a zero.
Yeah.
But like for the next, we're going to be carrying over numbers in each one of those. So I just left the line item there. I could get rid of it and then bring it back in the next time I do this or something, but that's the,
So this is an artifact of looking at just January's numbers then?
yes.
Huh, okay.
And we only receive, we get invoices from the member governments as they process them. So I'm still processing some invoices for 2017.
Well, I just want you to know that you're 1,462% over the percent of year-to-date budget expended, because that's what it says on the bottom of that column.
Okay.
All right, any other comments on the financials? Anything else?
No.
Oh, all right,
you.
thank you very much. Agenda item, well, I would make one comment on that. In order for us to be able to fund our commitment to I-25, those revenues really need to come in about $8 million or $9 million above budget. And so everybody needs to go buy a car. All right, we'd really appreciate that. Tyler?
No problem, Mark.
Or two. Thank you. Thank you.
I bought a new truck. I've got my car.
If that's what it takes, thank you. All right, on to agenda item number 17, the 2018 capital maintenance and public transportation contracts. City of Colorado Springs. What do you have for us?
Good afternoon, Aaron Egbert with City of Colorado Springs Public Works. I'm sitting in for Mike Chavez today. We've got 3 contracts that were brought up before. One was the dig out and patching for the asphalt pre-overlay. We've got the Dublin widening project from Bridle Pass to Powers, and then also the Pikes Peak Greenway Uinta underpass. So just open up to any questions. We do have Park and Rec staff here and operations and maintenance if you have specific questions.
Any questions on the City of Colorado Springs projects this month? Yes, Councilmember Bennett.
I move approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor of agenda item number 7A, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, that passes unanimously. 7B, El Paso County projects.
Good afternoon, Dennis Barron, El Paso County, filling in for Jennifer Irvin. And I'll talk about the West Colorado Avenue. But we have a couple of contract items. One is for McLaughlin Road, Old Meridian Road, retention of property acquisition agent, TRS, $148,221.50. I have a contract amendment. I'm sorry, I'm talking about the items before I talk about the budget increase. So let me talk about the budget increase. Okay. The TRS item that I just mentioned is not related to West Colorado Avenue. The other items, we have one other item that is not related to West Colorado Avenue. It's a maintenance contract for the graveling and chip seal program. It's award of contract to 3 different vendors. We select the vendors depending on the type of aggregate we need and proximity to the construction site, but I think that's a continuation of an ongoing, it's a renewal of contract the same way we did it last year. Any questions on those 2 before I get to West Colorado Avenue?
Seeing none, please proceed.
Okay. On West Colorado Avenue, I'm the project manager on the West Colorado Avenue project for the multi-jurisdictional project. We are requesting a budget increase to the project of about $3.88 million. I outlined in the memo the rationale. There was a question on the original funding for the project and why so much. I think the original project was originally budgeted when the program was put together at a little over $12 million. There was a couple years of planning on the job, and we decided to do several things that probably weren't anticipated in the original job, like rebuilding the bridge and moving it, rerouting the creek, and installing a lot of new infrastructure in there. So when we were ready to put the contract out to RFP, we did not have complete designs. We nominally said it was 90%. In some areas, it was probably a little less than 90%. But we estimated quantities and pay items on the contract at that time, and we got proposals. We selected Wildcat Construction. They were a little over $1 million lower than the second lowest bidder, or lowest proposer, and was awarded to them, I think, in December of 2016. So part of the goal was to get construction started as quickly as possible. So we recognized we had not had full design done as well as we would like, but there was sufficient enough to to hire a contract and an estimated cost. Proposals were based on those drawings. Design continued, and we ran into several additional issues that we had to resolve. So as design continued, we had identified several things that needed to be added to the contracts in order to make the job complete, a lot of them in the drainage area, a lot of them in the utility area, and some of them in the earthwork calculations. We also, FHU was the designer on it, and they also recognized that there were some things that were incomplete in the drawings and checked quantities, and the quantities went up. So we looked at those items that we knew needed to be added to the contract, the changes in quantities, and additional work that was not proposed on by the contractor. We had demolition of several buildings. If you recall, we demolished the Sunflower Motel. We have the Cerna building, the Metal Mamas building, which will be demolished shortly, and we have a couple other buildings. So none of the demolition was included or costed because we didn't have enough information on those to give the information to the contractor to put a good price on. So those are add-on type things. We also ran into some of the issues that you mentioned earlier, the tires, but probably even more significant than the tires is a lot of conflicts underground with the utilities that were put in and how they impacted some of the drainage. We had to do a lot of modifications. We had some areas where we identified additional drainage needs because there was no storm sewers in the system. It would have been preferable to have all that done ahead of time, but we did not have all the information we needed. We went on the best information we had, but there was additional design work that needed to be done, which FHU did. Looking ahead, we also had represented in public meetings that we were going to add architectural fish panels, similar to what they have at Cimarron Road, on the bridge abutment to along the trail. That's one of the change orders listed in here. So we had things that we knew we wanted to do, but were not costed in the contract when we awarded it. And unfortunately, I didn't have the foresight enough to estimate enough contingency for the project because we were already doubling the cost of the original budget. So I've outlined in the document there the flow of funds, where we are, and what we see coming down the pike, and that's the request for $3.88 million to fund the rest of the contract. I can't guarantee that there won't be additional funds. We still have another year of construction ahead of us, but that's what we see right now.
Commissioner Vanderwerf?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just a couple other questions, and I guess it's at least in part as a matter of public record. From a scheduling point of view, I think we're more or less on schedule, or do we have some?
Pretty much on schedule.
Okay.
We still expect to be substantially complete by the end of the year. Now, there'll still be things that will probably flow over into 2019, but the bulk of the new infrastructure, the bridges, and the walls will all be constructed, and we're trying to get as much done this year as possible. But there will be, so I'll say it's substantially complete by the end of the year is still what our target is. Another thing that you should all be aware of, when we bid the job, we did not have any of the property we needed to do this. There's a process to acquire property, as you're all aware, so property acquisition was proceeding in parallel with the construction. We had the contractor work where we had right-of-way and where we did not need access to various properties. The property acquisition has been challenging and difficult, with some property owners being more difficult than others. I think we had one property where the city had to pursue eminent domain. Hopefully we don't run into too many more like that, but there's been a lot of difficult negotiations. They did not proceed as quickly as possible, so we had to do workarounds in order to move forward with construction where we could. That impacts the contractor's ability to do some of the construction he would like to do sooner rather than later because we just don't have access to the property. So there's a lot of complications that we ran into in this job.
I understand also that some of those landowners that we needed to acquire the property from, they were really, really difficult to get a hold of. We sometimes would go months between a round of communications because we just had trouble, getting a hold of them. The $3.88 million that you're asking here, with the original budget plus this, what's the total that you have at this point?
Well, let me refresh my memory, but I think the total budget that we're working with, and it's not all PPRTA funds, is I think on the last page of the item. That brings us $35.75 million.
Okay.
And to be clear, everything that's being done is done within the scope of the voter-approved project, right?
Yes.
Yep, thank you. All right. Yep. He's going to make a motion.
Oh, yeah, just one other question. The 3.88 is, my understanding is El Paso County is asking a line transfer from the El Paso County budget. When is the scheduled reimbursement to El Paso County from Colorado Springs and Manitou Springs?
I think the item says it's to be repaid over the 2019 and 2020,
Okay.
but I think there's been a request from the city to make that a 3-year payback, so.
So it's still in the
It's
process
still
of
in the process,
negotiation?
yes.
Okay.
But it will get paid back in that time framework.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yep, so, well, I would like to move for approval for the capital line item transfer for West Colorado Avenue.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, seeing none, that passes unanimously. You want to talk about the other El Paso
Yeah,
County projects?
the other 3 contracts are related to West Colorado Avenue. One is the design entity, $1.3 million increase, contract amendment to them. It's listed as a design entity, but he has, FHU is the designer, and they've been completing the design, supporting the process. But that also includes his subs, the property acquisition effort, which I mentioned is very difficult. We have an extensive communications program, and he has other subs working on the project. So that's what we're forecasting that they will need to complete their support of the project.
All right, any questions on the remaining El Paso County projects? Seeing none, I will, Commissioner Gonzalez?
No, it's fine.
Oh, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, seeing none, that passes unanimously. 7D, City of Manitou Springs.
Good afternoon, Chairman, RTA Board members. I'm Shelley Cobaugh, the Public Services Director for the City of Manitou Springs. This should be easy after the last one. We're building a transit center at Hiawatha Gardens. It's a piece of property that Manitou Springs acquired for a transit facility. And we are not asking for a contract approval. We're asking for approval to repay Mountain Metro approximately $34,760 for them to construct this ADA accessible bus stop for a shuttle at this facility. So they'll use their contractor that constructs the bus stops are all around Colorado Springs, and we will reimburse them. So we're asking permission to utilize those funds to reimburse Mountain Metro.
Are there any questions about agenda item 7D? Mr. Mayor, I'd entertain a motion. All right, is there a second? All right, it's good to put in a piece of mail later on down the road. You did this. All those in favor of agenda item 7D, please say yes.
Aye. Yes.
I'm sorry. Aye. Sorry. Opposed.
Thank
All
you.
right, seeing no opposition, that passes unanimously. Sorry, we said yes in the State House, and it's aye. I get confused.
So, Mr. Chair, you didn't offer a verbalization for the noes.
Well, and I didn't get one, so we're good. All right, on to agenda item number. I'll get this right one of these days. I'm a work in progress. Other reports: Colorado Springs Transit Service monthly report. Mr.
Blewett, yes.
Yeah, close. I'll have that.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Craig Blewett, City of Colorado Springs Transit Services Manager. I have to pass out an updated report, and I'm passing to the right and to the left. I apologize for this, and I will send this out electronically as well for Councilmember Avila's benefit as well as everyone's. It's an updated report, and the changes to the ridership under our ADA Metro Mobility Program. And the explanation for it, if you've recalled over the last several months, there has been close to a 20% increase on those ADA trips. And we saw that several months in a row, so we investigated what's going on because there was really no explanation for that. And it turns out to be a software issue. We did an upgrade to our operations software, a trapeze that does all our tracking of rides. And with that upgrade, so when you do a report, you pull information from cells right to do report, and the information in one of the cells was changed by the upgrade unbeknownst to us. So we uncovered that this past couple of weeks, and I have a new report for you. And so we were seeing it close to 20% increases starting in September of 2017. In the chart that was just passed out, it shows there were minor decreases actually when you compare month to month from the previous year. September through December of 2017 compared to 2016 was not a 16 to 20% increase. It was a slight reduction of 3 to 5%. So that's a change, and I wanted to make sure that you got that information. Actually, there's a slight increase in October, and then slight decreases in September, November, and December. So with this current report, and the information the same as the fixed route service, we did see a slight 0.6% increase for 2018 compared to January 2017. Metro Mobility ADA service for the month of January, we did see an increase, and that one is explainable, and so that is accurate information. And van pool program, we saw a healthy 20% increase over January of 2017. January 2017 was fairly low, so it's good to see that rebound in our van pool program. And under projects, so on the one I just passed out doesn't have the list of projects from the previous report. I apologize for that, but it just noted that we had public meetings as part of our public input process for proposed service changes in 2018. And as reported to previously, those meetings occurred on January 23rd and 24th. Our public comment period ended January 26th, and our final recommendation on proposed changes are expected next week. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions? Even though this is an informational item, all those in favor, please say, I really like that. No, I'm kidding. Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it. Thank you.
All right, monthly change order and property acquisition reports for the City of Colorado Springs.
Aaron Egbert, City of Colorado Springs. Just opened any questions that you might have on the log.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
El Paso County change order and property report, or property acquisition reports.
I think he's doing an interview.
Okay, how about let's lay that agenda item over. Does that require a motion? All right, we're going to
It's an informational item, so unless there were questions that needed to be addressed, we could just move on.
okay. Does anybody see a need to lay that over to come back to it? All right, we'll just move on then. And finally, quarterly reports from member governments.
Rick Sonnenberg, Pikes Peak RTA Program and Contracts Manager. These are the quarterly reports required by the comprehensive IGAs to be submitted by each of the 5 member governments to the CAC and the board on a quarterly basis with a 2-month lag time. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer or defer to the applicable member government staff. This is just an information item.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, thank you. Agenda item number 9, our legislative report.
Mr. Chair, while
Yes.
he's coming up, you guys were so quick to approve the agenda that I missed suggesting that you might want to add an item under 9 for meeting time.
Oh, right.
Sorry.
I missed that as well. So currently our meetings are scheduled for 2 p.m., and that was to accommodate one of our members that no longer requires that accommodation. So we would propose to move the meeting time back to 1:30 again, if that's permissible by everybody. That doesn't require a vote, does it?
Since you would be changing regular meeting times, yeah, we should consider it as a action item.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to change the meeting time back to 1:30 like it was previously.
I'll move for a change back to 1:30.
Second. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Commissioner Gonzalez?
Have another
meeting before this, but I will
right.
sacrifice for you, Mark.
Thank you. Seeing no opposition, that passes unanimously.
I was like half opposition.
Seeing no serious opposition.
So just an informational question. Are we in at 12:30 for the executive meeting still? Okay, thank you. Just to confirm. All right.
12:30 and 1:30.
All right. Thank you.
All right, now on to our legislative update. I hope you have all of the real-time updates on amendments that are happening to Senate Bill 1 as we speak. Mr. Jablan.
Dan Jablan, Cherry Point lobbyist. No. I'll go to Senate Bill 1 first because that's probably the most pressing that we're looking here. And what I would tell you right now, it's more theater than it is public policy. And however it is right now, it's not going to be that way next week as it continues to move forward. I was in the Senate gallery and watched them debate or read the Amendment 8, which takes care of the gap on Senate Bill 267 for about an hour and 20 minutes as one party had them read the amendment word for word several times to make sure that it was going on. It's Senate Bill 1, so it's going to come out of the Senate how the Senate wants it, 18-17, would what I would say, but then it's going to go to the House, and that's a whole nother ball of wax. I did talk with the guys from CDOT today, and they're very concerned. They're very aware of the projects that the money was sanctioned for that start maybe this summer, and then the gap with the vote, and they're fine with that being taken care of, but they are also very concerned once it gets to the House on what kind of shape. It may or may not even come out of the House, according to CDOT. So that's kind of an update on that right now. It was on second readings today, which means it was just verbal votes. There's nothing official that has been voted on. Will when it gets to third reading in the Senate.
Were they still? I was listening to it, and so as of 12:30, they were still debating it, and they were up to like amendment number 23 or 24. I know our amendment to save that first tranche of 267 money did pass, but however, as Dan says, the chances of this bill looking like it does now are slim to none. But were they still debating it, or is that still going on, or are they done?
They were still debating it when I started my drive down here.
Yeah.
And it looked like there was no end in sight.
Yeah, Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, and if I understood correctly, if we get through this, goes over to the House, it might never even get out of the House.
Commissioner, that's very accurate.
Yeah, well, that's discouraging.
More likely than not.
Yeah.
If you just look at the sponsors of the bill, I would feel better about Senate Bill 1 had there been, and I love the sponsor. She's a great woman. She's solid. But had there been a Democratic co-sponsor as well on the bill, I would feel much better about the chances of it coming out of the House. Anything can happen under the Golden Dome, but right now, the only thing we can be sure of how the bill looks today, it will not look that way on Monday.
Well, one of the reasons why we have you come here and give us those updates is to see if there's any scope of action for us. I'm interested in comments or feedback on that. Is there anything we can do at this point?
Unless you have ideas for amendments, which they're done with now in the Senate, I don't think it gets through the first committee in the House. Maybe. There probably isn't a whole lot of action for us to engage in at this moment in time. At least I don't see that. There is a chance that there's a lot of negotiation going on, but oddly between this bill, school finance, and a couple other things, that it may give it a chance, but again, not going to look a whole lot different than it does now. I think for us in this piece of legislation, the key is making sure that the 267 money is protected. I think that's our single biggest issue.
And based on the amendments today, Commissioner, that money was protected on Amendment 8.
our single biggest issue.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Senate Bill 88, we talked about, that was the marijuana tax money. That has been signed by the governor. We talked earlier, the Department of Revenue is holding meetings in April to see what the next steps are in moving that forward for the groups that are going to request that money without taking it to ballot. And the 2016 land graph bill prohibiting the RTA from opposing sales tax on vacant lands that are annexed by non-member jurisdictions. There will not be a bill on that. What I'm doing every day is looking at new bill titles and bill titles that I think she may be able to try to amend that onto, so that we don't get caught flat-footed. The last thing you want to do is the last day of the session have them amend that onto a bill and all of a sudden, being unaware. So that's one of the big tasks that we're working on right now for the PPRTA, is making sure that doesn't get amended on another title.
And the prevention of that bill happening, that's like millions of dollars to us. All right.
That's it.
Anything else? Any questions on any of these other pieces of legislation?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, 10, I understand that we do have a request for an executive session today. So, Ms. Ivy.
Yes, before we go into executive session, I do have one public update on the litigation in the Walmart fountain matter. That's case 2015 CV 33347. We were waiting for the Court of Appeals to set the oral arguments in that. That has been set for 1:30 p.m. on Tuesday, April 17th. So, 60 to 90 days-ish after that, we might get a decision from the Court of Appeals. So that's my public update for that. We do have an executive session, or would like to hold an executive session, if the board so pleases, to discuss legislation regarding collection of sales and use tax. So I'd be looking for a motion to hold an executive session pursuant to CRS 246402-4B for the purposes of conferencing with an attorney to receive legal advice on specific legal questions related to legislation regarding collection of sales and use tax.
I would entertain a motion to go into executive session, please.
So moved.
All right, moved and seconded by Commissioner Vanderwerf. All those in favor of going into an executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Did I cover the verbalization there, Tyler? That passes unanimously. We will go into an executive session if non-voting members that are not required to be here, please excuse yourselves.
If Puma could stay.
Yeah. He is, Puma is really good at keeping secrets.
Pass this out while people are leaving. This is something you can keep. This is something you can give back to me, regardless. I know some people, I'm one of them, prefer to look at things in writing rather than listen to the words, so you can follow along while I read to you.
Thank you. This will be something we'll need to return.
Either way, if you think you're responsible enough to keep it confidential in your possession, you may keep it.
That's a lot of responsibility.
What's funny is
I never like to tell elected officials they're not responsible enough to keep it, so I put the other side.
What's funny, I sometimes write on this and do notes, and then I don't give it back to Amy and stuff, but it still helps, I think.
Better to give it back.
In accordance with state law, we will be doing an executive session where I'll be giving legal advice. Therefore, no further recording is necessary. I know people don't like to have something that's marked confidential.
All right, so we are out of executive session now. We've already discussed agenda item number 11. Number 12, RTA member announcements. Are there any member announcements? Seeing none, we are adjourned.
All right, Betty.
Nice job. That was.
Yeah. Thank you.
We're glad we could contribute to your decision.
Transportation, that's what I was looking at.
Bye, Puma. Bye, buddy.
I think those studies on this are bogus.
If we don't have the racial bias, so why should we hear? I'm not sure I want to.
It will be more, but it's not going to be, because the people are driving the Manitou right now.
I don't think they'll drive the Manitou.